episode of Progression Over Destination. In case this is your first time tuning in, my name is Jack Merrony and I'm joined by my co-host, Mathew Price. Last week we caught up with Dylan Gilligan from Upstate Merch out in America. This guy is a must listen if you're in the world of screen printing. From starting with just a pin badge machine to now owning his dream shop, he is definitely one to go and check out. This week we have Sheffield-based entrepreneur and owner of Yeo Familiar, Kirk Diggler. From mind management to business development, this guy talks the talk and walks the walk. Yet another incredible guest to have on that shows how being nice gets you somewhere these days, but being old school will always be the way to go. Please enjoy the episode.
Welcome to Progression Over Destination. If you can just state your name, your occupation, and your favourite beige snack, please.
My name is Kirk Diggler. My occupation is you want the official title? I am the CEO and founder of Yeo Familiar, and I'm also the podcast host for Who the Fuck's Diggler. And my favourite beige snack. I'm not quite sure about this one. I don't know whether this comes under beige snack, but
you'd be surprised.
Apple crumbles, my favourite type of beigey coloured snack.
Do you snack on an apple crumble?
I can do, because they do. Obviously, Morrison's make a nice small apple crumble. It's like
they do,
that.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So yeah, I can snack on an apple crumble. Yeah, occasionally. But yeah, so that will probably be it. Unless you're talking very basic, then it's probably going to be a chocolate chip cookie.
Oof, done. Easy.
Yeah.
Nice, simple logistics. Where you know you can get one straight away. So how did you start Yeo? Did you get funding?
How did I start Yeo? Self-funded. Well, basically, I had a couple of tattoo shops in Sheffield, and I basically came across a product. Well, I mean, I will tell you the basic story. I was at Tattoo Jam in Doncaster, and I think it was 2012. Excuse me. I've not got the Rona, I promise you. It's about 2012, 2013. We were at Tattoo Jam, and I met, I think it was the lady from Greener Options, and she was just launching black powder.
Yeah.
And I was, this is never going to take off. It's a rinse coat, you can just pour it away. And then I actually got offered some because I had a contact over in the Far East. Basically, essentially the same product, not from the same manufacturer, but the same essential product. For over in the UK, and I just thought, you know what, they seem to be doing all right. Why not? We'll just give it a go. So it started. That was the very first product of Yeo, was the Solidify powder, and it was just self-funded because obviously I had a couple of tattoo shops at the time, and I just launched it as from that tattoo shop, and that was it. And the reason it's called Yeo is because the powder that we launched, the Solidify powder, it came in dissolvable bags, and it looked like little bags of cocaine. So that's why we called it Yeo, because it was like Chichi Yeo from Scarface.
Amazing.
That's so good.
That's where the name comes from.
I was at a convention. I got given some.
Cocaine?
No. Well, I actually did. Yeah. Some of your little white bags.
Yeah.
And, this sounds even worse. And yeah, they were very sly in giving them out. They were like, you grab 2 for the entire convention. And I was like, yeah, I bought a big old pouch of them. But then I realized when I got back home that I could use wallpaper paste to do a similar sort of thing. So like the cheap man's option was to have a bit of wallpaper paste next to my.
You know what you can do? There's a load of stuff. To be fair, if you really thought about it, you could use flour.
Yeah. Yeah,
you
exactly.
could just tip flour in. It's anything to thicken up the water. It would do that, but essentially all it is where they use this primarily, and where we sell a lot of it too. We sell more of it too, actually, is nursing homes.
Wow, okay, that's cool.
Villages and things like that. So it's used in medical environments. So like hospitals use it for spillages, people thrown up and things like that. And we sell to a couple of airlines as well, because they have it in their sick bags.
Nice. Okay.
So yeah, but I mean, the tattoo community is actually quite low in the amount that it uses of it. But that's we can't get rid of it because that was the whole brand. The whole brand is all around that particular product.
Why did obviously Familiar on the end? is obviously you're a family. Is that the reason behind adding the Yayo family on the end of it?
Not the familia is basically because it was yayo is a Spanish word. It's the Cuban slang for cocaine.
Right.
So familia was basically just a Spanish word to just tag on the end because we couldn't get the domain name yayo.co.uk. So,
like the drug dealer had already taken that one.
yeah, exactly. What the combos can we have? And then it was a friend of mine who actually bought one of my tattoo shops when I sold them, Nick Kilby. He was like, "Oh, why don't you try Familia?" And I was just like, "Oh, that's not a bad idea." And there they were. They all like all three of the domains, .com, .uk, .co.uk. And I was like, bang, straight in. That'll do me.
Tidy. Very nice.
Amazing. So do you utilize Yayo to like pay any tradesmen for like building things? Like say, for example, you gave like someone to like some of your products to build a website for you, or do you work in that?
Yeah.
No.
Do I do? You mean are you being serious? As in, like, do I give them? So I'm going to give like a plaster or some solidify powder to do me some
no, but like to help your business in some kind of way. So do you have like a shop or anything that you use?
No. It's I'm a straight up pay money for services type of guy. I'm not one of these I'll swap time for time. The amount of time I see tattooists actually doing this on Facebook saying, "Oh, I need some electrical work doing. I'll swap it for some tattoo time." You're actually doing yourselves out of money because you charge more than than an electrician. So just pay them for the time and then, wow them with the work that you do, and then they'll come back and they'll get some stuff from you. Otherwise, you're actually doing yourself out of money that way.
Yeah.
I've come across stuff like that with work. I've stopped doing it. There's only like one or two people that I'll do it with now, and that's like, yeah. I'm one.
You got to think about it. Who charges 70 quid an hour for any sort of trade work? It's very, very rare. Unless you're in London, it's very rare you're going to come across that. But so basically, you're giving away an hour what it would take them two.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that was really fair. So, how do you feel about people in like the same industry as you? Like, there's different, like there's sorry mum and all that sort of stuff. Do you feel that they're good at what you do, and are you ever checking like their social media to think that you're not doing as well or anything, or like?
Do you find yourself comparing your business or your attitude towards the way you run your business compared to other people? Because I find I do it so much. I'm horrific.
I would be lying if I said I didn't check my competition. I think to be a good business, you need to be knowing your competition's products better than they do. You need to know the competition marketing better than they do, because you need to know not only what they're doing right, you need to know what they're doing wrong, so you don't make the same mistakes. And there's a lot of people in business, and their school of thought will be, don't be checking on your competition, just focus on your own stuff, which is fine. That's great. Obviously, don't be constantly comparing yourself to other people, but at least know their stuff and at least know what people are up to, because it's all about the name of the game at the end of the day. And marketing, that's a lot of where what I tend to do in business is the marketing side of things, is that you need to do that in order to be one step ahead.
I guess it's kind of healthy competition, because I was talking about getting another screen printer from locally around here to come onto the studio, to come onto the podcast to my partner. She's like, "I don't think that's a good idea." I said, "Well, I think it would look good to have your competition and actually talk to them and have like an open book with them."
Absolutely.
And I think they'd be really up for it as well. She seems really nice, so
absolutely.
her. Yeah.
There's no reason that you need to be have any animosity towards your competition, like, at all.
Yeah.
If you actually break down the numbers and look at it objectively, there is plenty of business for everyone.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what business you're in, there is plenty of it for everybody. Now, I'm not necessarily against competition whatsoever, so long as the competition is fair. That's the only thing that I kind of hold dear, really, is that people are playing by the same rules. If they're playing by the same rules, then that's absolutely fine. Yeah. Like, I mean, I know that there's at least one brand that's quite well known in the UK, which I will not mention any names, and I know they don't play by the same rules.
Yeah.
But like, I know that there are other brands on there that I would probably have on my podcast, and I would like have a sit down chat. I'd have a sit down, have a cup of tea or a beer or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think it's absolutely fine. I've even discussed it with one who's a competition of like doing like a marketing almost. What's the word? As if we're taking pot shots at each other. So from
everyone else's point of view,
everyone else is thinking of war, but for us, we know it's just we've already pre-planned it. It's actually
good publicity to get you both
thinking about that. If you think about it, it's like it's the origins of tattooing anyway, right? So like everyone's fucking slagging off everybody in tattooing, or used to be. It's getting a lot better. Yeah. Everyone's getting a lot nicer, and it's paying to be nice now, isn't it?
Yeah.
It never used to be. When I started out, I was like, nah, you never tattoo. You're a fucking all your shit. Your drawings are crap. Like, yeah, draw with this, like, draw with this Stanley blade onto this desk because that's the way we used to do it. It's like, but now like everyone's a bit more friendly and like a bit more like accommodating. Like, and you can have that like. There's enough skin to go around. There's enough style to go around as well.
And not only that, there's always going to be new skin turning 18.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like there's always going to be new business. There's always going to be new people that are going to need tattoo aftercare. There's always going to be new people that are going to want different tattoos from different artists. So like I say, there's plenty of business to go around, literally for everyone. And there's no reason to be territorial. And honestly, I have been territorial. I have been that guy with my tattoo shops. I was really territorial about, I didn't want people opening on the same street as me. And it's only as I've grown in business and as a person, and that's taken a lot of soul searching and looking within myself, because I do read a lot, and I do a lot of reading about how your mind works, and how your brain sort of like lies to you a lot of the time.
Fascinating, isn't it?
I've looked at it from that angle and just gone, do you know what? There's literally no reason to have these disagreements and issues with other business owners, because they've got the same worries and the same issues as you do.
Yeah.
And there is enough business to go around.
Yeah, I see a lot of breweries doing like tap takeovers, and like they do brews together and stuff. Like would you or have you collaborated with anyone in the past, or like are you ever open to collaborating with other people, or is there even 100%. Room to collaborate?
100%, yeah. I would definitely a collaboration with like Hustle Butter, for example, or like Penny Black. I would definitely do like a collaboration with those guys. Do you know what I mean? And just put something out that's quite like a limited edition. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
What about artists? Like there's certain artists that release different color inks. Would you like go to like using like a certain smell for certain artists? I don't know. Like
I know what yours would be, pricey. Yours would be shit.
Cheers, mate. Oh, thanks for that.
You are brutal. Yeah, I would. Yeah, we've actually got that in the works. We've already got one blend already made for Paul LeVay, who's one of our pro team artists. And all of our pro team are going to have their own blend. They were meant to be launched in March. March has gone to shit. So we're just going to get everything back to normal. Once everything's up and running, we've got all our own seasonal blends anyway. And then we're going to launch the artist ranges. So we've got like a few that are going to be coming out, and we're just going to like slowly release them, see how the first one takes, and then just go from there. So yeah, we will be doing that.
Amazing. Is Colin Whitfield, is it one of your artists, me?
Yeah, he's one. Yeah.
He's such a nice guy, man. I went and got tattooed in Devon before this sort of crap went down, and the boy that works at the shop, Dom, did like some stuff on my arm. Really like super cool guys, really nice guys, really nice shop. But it was good. Like I met Dom at a convention, and he was like back to that original. It was like back to what I was saying earlier on. Like everyone's starting to be nice, Like, and I found like the more that I've put my foot in the door with like this industry, like, and the more that I've proved myself, rather than being like a mouth, like I've just like had these doors opening for me. And like I was building machines that like not massively, just assembling machines, not actually building them. And I was showing him some machines, and he was just like, I need one of those. So it's just nice.
Yeah.
It's good, man.
It does pay to be nice. It doesn't pay to be a dickhead. It does bite you in the arse eventually. And you know, people just don't want to associate with those people that are like, generally dickheads. So it does. Yeah. There's no reason to be arsey with people. There's no reason to be off with people. So Dom's on our team. David from that studio's on our team. They're both on support team, and Colin's in our pro team.
Yeah, his work is insane, man.
It is. Good. And you're absolutely right. He's such a lovely guy. He's genuinely really, really down to earth. He's always got a nice word to say about everyone. I've literally never heard a bad word come out of Collins about anyone ever.
Nah. He was just like at the end of having my tattoo, we were having a chat about lighting and about like how you can take the best photographs, and he's really into his photography. So that is paying off with his work, man. Like you can see like his well lit photographs of his work, and like the precision of his tattooing is just incredible. He's like really, really good guy, man. Like, and like I came home and sent him a message, and I was like, "What was that light you were telling me about?" And like instantly, there was an Amazon link, just to be like, "Yo, dude, this is what I've been using. It was lovely to meet you." It was just compared to what I was used to when I first started. That was like those things go a long way when you've been treated like shit at the start.
Yeah. So. Absolutely, mate. Yeah, 100% agree with you. He's really accommodating, and at the end of the day, I mean, that just goes to show that there's no reason to have fear about your competition, because your competition can just be your mates just as much as anyone else, and there is enough to go around. And like he's definitely at the forefront of the type of people that know that. Like he wouldn't. I can believe that 100% about Colin. Yeah, he's such a nice guy.
Super cool.
So would you reach out to like Hustle Butter to ask for a collaboration? Like I know obviously the magnitude of that.
Would I reach out to Richie Bulldog to do a collaboration? Yeah, why not? I mean, I would do absolutely. Yeah,
he's human as well. Like
he is human as well. Actually, do you know what? Funny story. When I first launched our first aftercare, so the first aftercare that we launched, the brand name was slightly different. It was called Sigma. So it was called Sigma Clean. And we had Yayo, so the Yayo was just the powder, and Sigma Clean was the butter. And long story short, it was too convoluted to try and promote two separate brands that were meant to represent the same company. So that's why we brought everything under Yayo, and everything started going from that way. But when we first launched it, when I was putting it on our Instagram, I was using the hashtag Hustle Butter. Because people were looking for it, and I got a message from Richie Bulldog, and it was the most polite cease and desist. Like,
no way.
Yeah, there was no threats. There was no like, "Oh, I'm going to take legal action." He was just like, "Come on, man, just shout your own brand as loud and as often as you can, and let people around you sort of like know it and feel it and all that kind of stuff." And he's just like, "You don't need to go off of anyone else's sort of like popularity." And I just messaged back, and it's like, you know what? That's the politest message I could have got from. I was like, no problem at all, and that was it. And I just stopped from that day and never used it since, because he was just
fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Do you still have that message?
I'll probably have it somewhere. Yeah, I can find it somewhere. Yeah.
You have to screenshot that and like send it over. I would love.
Will do.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It was genuinely really nice.
I didn't expect that at
all. No, he could have been a dick. He could have just been like, "What you?" And he wasn't at all. He was just genuinely quite nice. It comes across differently. His persona comes across differently online, is what that message was.
Yeah.
But we've had not cross words. We've had a different sort of like message backwards and forwards since then, which I'll not go into. But it wasn't anything to sort of like write home about.
Yeah.
But it was quite nice. I was genuinely quite taken aback by that. But yeah, would I reach out to? I don't think the thing is with Richie Bulldog and Hustle Butter, they wouldn't need to do a collaboration because they're the biggest in the world. Let's be honest, they're the biggest ones. That everyone's sort of like, they were I don't know if they were the original. I've heard the story that Richie Bulldog copied the formula of I think it's called like Redemption or something like that. I don't know how true that is. So it's probably not true. But you know how these rumors sort of start.
Yeah.
Don't know whether Richie Bulldog's Hustle Butter came first as the original like aftercare outside of like the Pantheon, or whether it was this Redemption other company. But yeah, they were definitely one of the first to get global. They were probably the first to go global.
Yeah.
And I think it was him and Killer Inc. Is it Lath? that runs Killer Inc. I think they went into it together to form Blood and Butter Limited company in the UK, and then they've sort of like helped catapult Hustle Butter to where it is today. And you know, he's done an amazing job with just essentially the one blend of aftercare in making it global. Everybody knows who Hustle Butter is.
Yeah. So, are there any mottos or mantras that you live by?
You mentioned like you read a lot to do with the mind, so I feel like you've got some sort of connection to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, personally speaking, I've always had issues with, just to be bluntly honest, but actually issues with anger and jealousy. Is that I'm always of the belief that someone's going to fuck me over. And it was dating my girlfriend, and she was pulling me up on it. She was just like, I'm not going to cope with your suspicious bullshit. I'm not going to cope with your getting pissed off over nothing bullshit. You need to look into it. So I did. I got a book. It was recommended to me, actually. It was from the gym that I was going to in Sheffield, Titanium Strength Gym, so strongman gym. And there's a woman who trains there called Kelly, and she works in this field, and she recommended a book called The Chimp Paradox.
I've read that.
I've got it on Audible, and I've listened to it 4 times now.
Yeah.
And each time I listen to it, I take something new away from it. And it was that book that opened my eyes to my own personality. It was almost like someone was writing the book based on everything, all the good and negative aspects of what I do. And I was like, shit. You know, you get a dawning realization of, you know, you realize at some point that actually what you're doing is dickish and not right. And you've just gone down, you've fallen into this path, probably from stuff from your childhood and things like that. And it's just sort of like shaped the way who you are. And this is just all about self-development and self-growth, is that that started with this book. And honestly, it's definitely been like has had a massive effect on me, positively, from a personal aspect and from a business aspect. So I guess the personal mantra that I tend to live by is never stop learning. Literally never stop learning. I will listen to as many podcasts, read as many books as I can that will help me develop as a person and as a businessman.
That's class. I'm definitely going to have to read that book. I've been recommended it so many times.
So I've got it. You can have it off me, because I only ever read it when I need to, like. I've read it when I've been at, like, right, sort your shit out. That's when I've read it, and there was parts of it was just like basically explains like the Neanderthal you, and it's like sort your fucking Neanderthal you out, get rid of that, and put yourself in line. And like, I love that book, man. It's so fucking good.
I'm gonna have to get it on Audible. I really struggle to sit and read.
If you I can't do that either. You get it on Audible. Here's my tip: listen to it on 1.25 speed, because the guy reading it, who wrote the book, will send you to sleep. He is boring as fucking sin.
Is there a faster option than 1.25?
There is. Yeah, there is. You can read it at 2 speed, 3 speed. You can get fast, but honestly, he's so boring. But the book itself, like I said, I listened to it 4 times. I recommend literally anyone. It is such a good book, and it is. And the Chimp Paradox is what it essentially is that everyone has this inner chimp that's a throwback from, like you said, the Neanderthal days. And it's the chimp that gets offended. It's the chimp that gets angry, and it's the chimp that does all this stuff. And it's about controlling your chimp to stop it getting off the lead and going fucking ape shit and ruining your life.
Yeah. Yes, I love it. It's like the analogies in it, the metaphors.
It's kind of like the black dog with depression. It sounds like.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, that's a really good one to look into. But yeah, it sounds like controlling that black dog, keeping it on a leash, essentially. Yeah.
But I love Audible, man. I mean, I've got so many business books on Audible. It's unreal, from sort of marketing to social media marketing to web development to personal mindset growth and everything else.
Yeah,
I've got so many. It just goes on and on. Like, the list goes on. I like one of my favorite. I know we didn't talk about books, but I'm telling you anyway.
No, that's fine.
One of my favorite business books is The E-Myth. It's called The E-Myth Revisited, and it's all about systemizing your business, and so you can spend less time having to be in your business and more time having personal time. So it's actually putting systems in place in order to make all your shit just run a lot smoother.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's the McDonald's method. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever sort of like learned about how McDonald's works, but McDonald's is what they call a turnkey business, and it's like one of the original franchises that works just by, you take a manual, and the manual literally tells you how everything works, from turning on to the grills to managing staff.
Yeah.
And everything in the middle. If you want to know what time to flip a burger, you turn to the right page and it will tell you, put it on this side, flip it over to that side after so many seconds. And that, it literally is what it, and what you need in any business is the ability, if you were incapacitated for any length of time, that someone could just walk in, pick up this manual and know instantly how everything works.
Yeah.
And that's what the E-Myth teaches you. It's such a good book.
See, that's something I really struggle with, because I've only this would have been my third year in business. I was a screen printer, and I taught myself how to do it from YouTube. So I don't actually know the right way. I only know the way that I've learned. So to be able to put it into a manual context, and I employed my mate Gethin, and to be able to put it in a book and be like, this is how it's done. It's technically probably impossible for screen printing, for him anyway, to be able to show him more practically hands-on. So fuck if I got...
Well, you always say that you want to work smarter, not harder. That's one of the things you always want to do, Jack.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe that would be a good thing for you to do, is to fucking sit down and write something like that for, like, say if you chose to take someone else on for screen printing again, then you could, like, just give them that fucking manual and be like, read that, get on with that.
Manual, you've got how-to videos. We've made how-to videos within Yayo on how to make blends of butters and stuff like that. We like all of our, so like making all the butters, all the recipes are all literally right there to be able to pick up. It's all digitized, so they can just get in, you get the password, they go straight through, and you can just go step 1, do this, step 2, do this, step 3, do this, and it's just like you could walk in, have this manual, and go, right, I know how to make Yayo Prime, and just go bosh, 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 and done.
What was the password?
Is the Colonel on the video? Are you the Colonel that's got like the secret recipe?
That's it. You know what? I'm not, because it's my business partner that's actually the magician in that side of things. Do you want to know the story of like that? Yeah,
absolutely.
So I've got the tattoo shop. It was the original, because I've got 2, and I was in the original tattoo shop up at Kirks. And Megan, my now business partner, she opened a skincare shop 3 doors away. And obviously Yayo had already launched as the solidifying powder. And I just wanted, a like competition to Hustle Butter, essentially. I wanted to launch our own aftercare. So I walked in to her shop, never met her before in my life. I'm like, hi, I'm Kirk, I own the tattoo shop down the road. And she's such a nice, Megan, she's so nice. And she's like, oh, we're having a chat. And I said, look, do you fancy making an aftercare blend for tattoos? Because it's something that like I want to get into. So she's like, yeah, I'm down for that. So I said, all right, so like I just pointed it in the direction of, right, well, this is Hustle Butter. It's sort of like what people are sort of like going for. She's like, right, okay, that's got this in it, this and this in it. I could make something sort of similar, but I'd like to put my own spin on it. And I was just like, yeah, go for it and just see what you do. And then she came up with the first blend, which was Sigma Clean, which is now Yayo Clean. And that was it. And all I literally said to her was that it needs to be soft. I'd like it to heal tattoos fast, and I'd like it to be sort of cost effective for the end user. That was essentially the brief that I gave her. Yeah. And then about a week later, she came back with a few samples, and it went from there, really. So she's the magician behind it. So we became partners after that. Yeah. So she's like the wizard. So anytime I'm say to her now, I get like an idea off the top of my head, and I'll just go like, oh, I want a stencil solution, and I want it to smell like floss. Go and so, but that took us 6 months. 6 months of samples and backwards and forwards, because it was so complex. Because obviously it needs to be able to work on thermofax paper, it needs to work on carbon paper. Yeah. And you could get it for months. You could get it to work on one or the other, and not both. And it was just for ages she was tinkering with this recipe. Anyway, it took 6 months, but she got there. But yeah, that's what I do, is I just go like, oh, Megan, I've got this idea, and you just see her face go, oh, God, really? And like, no, just hear me out. It's easy. Just hear me out. And then I'll say, and then I just leave it with her, and then a day or a week or a month later, she'll come back with like samples, and then we go from there.
That's class. That's amazing. That's really cool.
Just work really well together because I'm really focused on the business side of thing, being the front end guy. Obviously, I know all the artists and I speak to all the artists all the time. So I come from a very customer services marketing sort of like background, and that's how I run the business from that side of things. And she's very creative in like the wizardry that what she does. You know, she's a skincare.
You can't have one without the other, can you? You know, you're at the front end.
We do work. Yeah, we do work really, really well. Yeah, and she brings me down. You know, I was saying about the chin paradox and stuff, and I can get quite hot-headed at times because I get really excitable. Yeah. So I can get quite hot-headed, and she's really chill. Yeah. Like really, really chill. So she balances out that whole yin yang is sort of perfect.
Amazing.
Good to have.
Yeah,
really good.
That's amazing. So, have you felt like that you've ever been overwhelmed with the way that your business runs together with her, and like overwhelmed with your customer needs and like what is needed of you to run like you?
No, we've crossed swords now and again. We've locked horns. You know, it's because we have a different management style, and her management style is very, very sort of laid back, and mine's probably a little bit too on top. You know, like I'm learning to be better. I'm overly critical where it's not necessary. You know what I mean? Because I'm a perfectionist. I want this, but I want it now. Yeah. And she's very laid back. She's like, don't worry about it. They'll get to it, or we'll get to it, or such and such. So that's the only time we've ever sort of like we've ever locked horns is over sort of like, you know, management sort of issues. But in all fairness, I tend to sort of like back down and let her have the final bit, because I know that she's right at the end of the day, because she's so nice. She's just so nice, and like everybody loves Megan, and there's a good reason for it. It's because she's just such a lovely person. She's such a kind-hearted person. Yeah. That's what you want in the person that manages your staff, and that's what you want in that sort of environment. So no, I've never felt overwhelmed at all, because I know that she's always got my back, and we just work really, really well as a team.
Yeah. What about like in the beginning when you first started, and all the orders started coming in and you started to actually find some traction with the business? Were you a bit, as you said, taken aback by the growth? Or did it take
No, because I had two shops at the time, so I had space to grow and utilize other areas, you know, in order to like hold stock and things like that. And I had in my first shop at Kirks, we did out, like I paid a few grand to do out the whole basement, so it was watertight and sterile, so we could store a lot of like packaging and products and things like that down there, and then we would just ship it from that point of view. And then once it got too big, we just took it step by step. I just approached and said, "Oh, we're probably going to need some premises now, but we've got orders coming through the door that we can afford it. So shall I look for somewhere?" And she was just like, "Yeah, fine." And we just took it one step at a time. And I remember, I think 2016, maybe 2017, is it around there? Somewhere, 2017, I think maybe. That we took on the warehouse that we're in now, but we just took on the top floor at this point, because that was the only one that was available. And when we started filling that up, and we were just like, shit, actually we need more space, because we've turned essentially what was the office into the entire sort of sterile, clean prep room where we make everything. And we need to now start storing the products that we are making, because we're shipping that much out. Then the guy downstairs, he was a joiner. He moved out, and so I spoke to the landlord and I said, "Oh, can we have the downstairs unit as well?" So he was like, "Yeah," and that's where we're at today. And it just kind of grew organically. I never really looked on it ever being overwhelming, because it was just a case of, all right, well, we need this now.
It's happening. You were just going with the stride.
Looking, that was just it.
So where do you see, you said it's grown, like obviously with the joiner moving out and stuff, where do you see your business in a year's time, and is there anything exciting in your pipeline? Like you obviously mentioned the artists, like the pro artist thing, but is there anything else that you want to mention?
We're going down the Lush route. So we're actually looking further ahead into more mainstream markets, into sort of like body butters, moisturizers, body scrubs, bath bombs.
Smelly balls.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
You can have that one, that's on me.
I'll have some of that. We're moving into that market. So Lush, you know, like rather than it being so like Hustle Butter or like you say, Sorry Mom and people like that, it's actually now Lush that we're looking at as our competition. Because I feel like we service like the tattoo industry really well. We've got a really good customer service record. We've got a good rapport with the artists that we feel like that's ticking over nicely. And we love going to the conventions, and we love speaking with all you guys that buy all the products. That we just want to like look into new markets now that we can also branch out into, and like Lush's market is probably the bigger market that we could think of.
That's big, yeah, that's good.
I like to go after the big boys, you know. In this case, the big competition doesn't scare me, and that's the thing with a lot of business owners. They get worried about the big boys in the industry.
Yeah.
And I was recently chatting to, because I was looking at opening a coffee shop, and I was thinking about doing a coffee shop chain. That's the thing that you'll learn about me, is I love business.
Fingering all the pies.
I love starting new businesses. It's just something that I really enjoy. It's like a hobby. Everyone has a hobby, and mine's just starting new.
So did you originally start out tattooing? Because I didn't really know your history that well at all.
No. I'll tell you what, I'll come on to that. Let me just finish this.
Okay, cool.
This going to bore the shit out of your listeners, but I don't care. You're listening to it anyway. I was speaking to a barista, a friend of mine, and I said, I fancied opening a coffee shop. She works at Costa. She works at Costa. She said, you don't want to be going into this industry now because obviously Coca-Cola have taken over Costa, and like it's too big, you'll never get a foothold. I was just like, it doesn't scare me. Like it doesn't scare me at all, because I like the whole branding of a new business. And I'll start small. I'll just be like, I'm not going to like instantly going to open 100 shops and think I can take on Costa Coffee. Yeah. But I could one shop.
But if you have that in mind,
exactly,
you're already off onto a good foot.
Exactly. They don't worry me at all.
No.
At all. And I've never been concerned by competition. That's why I'm happy to go up against Lush.
Yeah.
Like with a big smile on my face.
Yeah.
And I won't, not in an animosity way, because I'll still shake hands with whoever owns the company. I actually quite admire Lush. They're a British company. They started in Dorset. I think it was in the 90s. And now they're worldwide. I mean, play to them. I'd definitely shake their hands. I think they're doing really well. And like I say, I want to get into that market myself.
Yeah, that's good to hear, like that you have that view as well. Like a lot of my biggest main competitors in the UK for screen printing and apparel and like merchandise businesses, I can definitely see myself up at that level at some point. And
absolutely.
I cannot fucking wait to be there. And it just pisses me off that I'm not there right now. But I know I've got to do this in order to get there. So it's a patience game.
You've got to have the vision to where you want to go. You don't even need to know all the steps you need to make in order to get there. You just need to know the next step.
Yeah.
That's all you need in business. You need to know the next step of where you want to be, so you're climbing that ladder. Don't look at by all means, obviously, keep an eye on where you want to be. Keep an eye on the top, because that's where you want to be at. But don't try and plan all the steps ahead and go, right, I need to do this, and then that will give me that, and then that will give me that. Yeah. Because you never know when that one rung is going to go, actually, I can go in this direction, or I can go in this direction.
Yeah.
Now that I'm at this level, I could go here or here. So don't worry about it. Just worry about the next step and just keep moving.
Cool. Thank you. It's good advice.
Where did I start? Did I start out tattooing? I think you asked. No, I didn't. I wanted to be a tattooist, and I realized that I couldn't draw. Essentially, that's what I was saying before. I couldn't draw, and actually, that's a lie. I can draw. I just don't have the patience to sit down and actually keep practicing and getting better and getting better and getting better. I want to do it right now, and I got a very, I don't want to say shitty, but I was an apprentice at this tattoo shop. I was only there 1 day a week, so it wasn't like I was an apprentice full time. Like I was only there 1 day a week. And what I didn't know at the time is that the woman wasn't actually a very good tattooist. She'd not been entirely truthful about how she learned to sort of be in this industry and so on and so forth. But to cut a long story short, I left there. I had previously a business that I'd started from home, unlocking phones while I was a civil servant full time. I was unlocking phones part time, and I sold that business in 2009. and then I used some of the money from the sale of that to get trained in and to buy my first high-grade medical laser equipment to remove tattoos. Because I saw that as a way into getting into the tattoo industry, because at that point in time, they weren't really tattooists doing laser.
Yeah.
So back in like 2009, we're talking sort of, that just wasn't a thing. So that was sort of like my way in. And what I did from there was, while still working as a civil servant, I set up part-time. I was doing like remote, mobile tattoo removal, but like in tattoo shops. So I used to go to 2 tattoo shops every other week, and I would do 1 day a week in each tattoo shop, removing tattoos. And I built up a client base enough to open up my own tattoo shop and hire a tattooist. And that from there just went from 1 shop to 2 shops. I ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, so like 10 artists working between both shops.
And what's the time frame of this from start to where you are now?
From 2009, I opened up the first tattoo shop in 2012, and I opened up the second tattoo shop in 2013.
Quick.
Nice.
So yeah,
you don't fuck around.
No, I don't really. To be honest, once I see something, I just go hell for leather with it, and it just grew really well. I mean, the plan was I wanted to make a chain of tattoo studios, because again, that wasn't like a thing at that point in time. And I remember being on holiday in Florida, and it was actually in 2009 when I'd sold my mobile phone unlocking business. I was in Florida Mall in Orlando, and this tattoo shop had just opened up, and it was like the first tattoo shop to open up inside a mall. It was called Atomic Tattoos, and it was like their 11th. And obviously, it's like they have like chains of everything, don't they? Well, this is like a chain of tattoo shops, which again was unheard of. And they'd got 11. This is like number 11 tattoo shop. And I was just like, that's, and I'd already had the idea of wanting to go down that route anyway. And then this just showed that the model could work, and that's what I thought that I was going to go on and do. But
so when's number 3 opening?
There isn't. I sold the other 2.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I sold those in 2017 to 2 good friends of mine because what I did is, how I ran my tattoo shops is that I ran it as a partnership. So with my Kirks tattoo shop, I was in a partnership with my friend Pete Miles. He's a tattooist, and so we would profit split the income from the chair rental from the commission from the other artists. Yeah. And on my Eccleston Road tattoo shop, which I ran with my partner Nick Kilby, he was also a laser technician and a body piercer. So he bought that shop, and Pete bought the other shop, but they kept the name, so they run it as like a joint like brand. So it's the brand's called Good Vibrations Tattoo, and so they run it under the one umbrella, but they're both independent businesses that operate separately. But what they do is they work really well together, is that they pass work to each shop, because they're still under the, so they keep passing work to each other, and it works really, really well. And if you notice the old branding, I don't know if you've seen the new branding for the Yayo stuff, but the old branding with the Yayo man, like the Cholo guy, he's got GVT written across his chest. That's Good Vibrations Tattoo.
Okay.
It's all quite subliminal. He's got on his arm, his left arm, he's got a bottle of Henderson's Relish, which is a Sheffield like Liam Perryman. and then on his arm it says "orate," which is like a Sheffield word for it. All right. So, orate. And he's,
that's when you're taking drinks in the corporation.
Yeah, that's it, mate.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Corporation. Have you been in corporation?
Yeah, I've been corporate. I used to be in a band, and we toured, and Sheffield was one of our spots that we went.
Shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good crack after.
Yeah. It's all right. Sticky Floors called. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on the Yayo man, back to the Yayo man, his hat, he has a cap twisted backwards, which is, I tend to normally wear my caps twisted backwards, and on the front of it says Crooks. Where I opened the original tattoo shop. So it was all kind of like subliminal based
it's all
around.
A homage to your,
it is. It is.
Yeah. That's awesome. I've literally got that in my. We've got a glass case, and I've got like that in my. I've got an empty, but I've got an empty. I need to reorder a load of stuff actually, but I've got an empty one in my case, and everyone's always like, "Have you got any more of that stuff? Like yo stuff?" I'm like. No, it's yayo.
Mate,
Like,
the amount of people, right, that they'll call me up from a business and is that the managing director for Yayo? And I'm like, can I just stop you there, mate? I'm like, if you take away the O from the word, what does it say? They went, oh, yay. So, right, well, now stick the O back on. Now what does it say? Oh, yayo. Like, right. You want to start this phone call again?
I get old Eltons because nobody thinks they're stupid enough to call a business old Eltons.
Yeah. I get Sursum. Like,
Awesome. Yeah.
Someone went into the spa and asked for circumcised tattoo once.
No.
It's like Sursum tattoo, not fucking
circumcised tattoos.
I was like, well, I can have circumcised tattoos. That's fine.
You could reuse the skin. No, I'm not even going.
Oh,
oh dear. That's a new low. So we talked earlier about like chimp paradox. We talked about like that mind management element, how you've developed your business, and you also, before we started recording, we had a little chat about you having kids. Are there any personal life-changing moments that you feel have defined you as a business owner? And if so, what did you take from those situations to help you progress further in yourself and get to your current destination?
Do you know what? That's a really, really good question. And to answer that completely honestly, no. There are none. I would love to have a really poignant answer for you, to be able to give you some like little gems of vision of like, oh wow, that's where he came from and all that. But I don't. I literally don't. I take every day as it comes. I do look into the future from a business aspect. I think I've always been business minded ever since I was a kid, and not realized it until I got into like being in my 20s. That I realized I wanted to be a business owner, and I did it completely by accident. But I don't have like a poignant moment of any time where I just think that something's changed my mindset and gone, that's the destination that I want to go to. This is what I strive for. Obviously, everyone has their why, and their why is obviously generally 9 times out of 10, their why is going to be their family. It's going to be their kids, that they want to leave a legacy for their kids, or they want to leave a legacy about themselves, or they want to make sure that their kids are financially taken care of if something were to happen to them or after they go and things like that. And that is generally most people's why. And that would be mine as well, because I love my kids to bits. They're fucking nightmare sometimes, but I love them to bits. But I don't have like an epiphany moment of like, this is what's causing me to go down this route. The only time I've actually ever had an epiphany moment is like when we talk about the chimp paradox, is some of my personal behaviors were not always beneficial to myself. It pushed people away because I'm very abrupt, like I'm very upfront with people. I don't have this, I'll be nice to your face and talk bullshit behind your back. If I have a problem with you, I will say I've got a problem with you, and I'll be straight up with it. But that's not always given me the best impression with people. They always know where they stand, but it's not always giving me the best light with people. But equally, I've not always gone about it the right way. Whereas now I'm more constructive with it, and I give people feedback on the reason why I might have to be direct for any particular reason. And that's all because of like my girlfriend, really, because she's the only one. Like my ex-wife, I get on with really, really well. We're like best mates, but she probably put up with a lot of my sort of like stroppy behaviors because for an easy life, because it was just easier for her to just put up with it and just sort of like just crack on with stuff. Whereas my girlfriend, who's also called Megan, it's not my business partner, it's someone else, but she was the only one to ever turn and go, pack that bullshit out right now, or I'm...
Well, I guess then that we can probably say that she's your personal life-changing moment.
Essentially, yeah.
I mean, yourself.
The business was already established. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. From what you've said, it sounds like you've always had that like go-get attitude, and for someone like you, possibly there's not that life-changing thing to like epiphany. You weren't standing on top of a mountain and your balls fell out of your jeans and you were like, actually I could wear some pants and I need to get some cream on that. So, or whatever. It's more of like, it's more of, I think more of, you sound like the switch went when you needed to change your mindset, which is amazing.
It was, mate, really, to be honest. And I've always, if we're talking like from a business aspect, I've always just gone from gut feeling. I've never done a business plan in my life, not once.
I don't understand them. Doesn't make sense. I wouldn't know where to fucking start.
The only thing that I think about a business plan is two things. One is for yourself to know where you're going. And this is I've learned since I've opened businesses, is to know where you're going and to have a plan for the next 12 months. But also, if you want to get a loan from a bank, to be able to just say, look, I've projected this and this is what's going to happen. It might be total bullshit, but at least you've done some research to at least show the bank if you need some money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I've never done that, and I went to a networking event, a business networking event in Sheffield a couple of years ago, and that was the first time I ever actually listened to people talk about self improvement in business and reading books and listening to podcasts and taking courses in order to improve themselves and having business mentors to improve themselves in business. And I never looked on that before, so that was the first time I was ever introduced to the book, The E-Myth. And it went from there, really. So when I first started researching any sort of book, and I started with that one, I've just gone from the next to the next to the next. I'm continually learning all the time. I'm literally learning all the time now.
Yeah. So I bet you found lockdown quite helpful, like being able to like get all that spare time to just sit down and better yourself. And
oh, mate, you'd think so, but the girlfriend's got me running around like a blue-ass fly. I can't do anything.
How many shelves have you put up, man?
Oh, mate, honestly, you know what? I'm 22 stone. I'm a big guy. I could bench press 160 kilo, but can I do DIY? Can I fuck? I am absolutely shocking. If you need a bit of business advice, setting up a Shopify website or anything like that, I'm your man. If you want a shelf putting up and it's going to fall off, no problem. I am there for you. They put, I am the last person you come to for DIY advice. You'd actually go to my ex-wife because she was, but honestly, she was more of the man than I am because I am shocking at DIY. I'd love to be able to do all that. I've got no patience.
Recognize your strengths, right? Recognize your strengths. Yeah.
Yeah. I can lift really heavy shit, but I can't put up a fucking shelf. It's embarrassing.
Amazing.
That's all of our questions, man. Like,
Is it? Are you done?
Yeah,
we're done.
You said an hour, so you know we've done it to what you.
Do you know, the hour was only because the girlfriend was moaning that she couldn't come to bed. So only reason I've got no other spare room that I could have like recorded this in. So I was like, oh, I'll just use the bedroom. And she's like, oh, but what about when I want to come to bed and like watch a movie? And I'm like, right, we're gonna have to wrap it up. But you know what? She's not called me. So if you got anything else, you can just fire away. But,
so I've got one. Do you see Yale going internationally like as big as Hustle Butter? Can you see that within what you're doing or not yet?
Yeah, I can absolutely. Yeah. For me, I've not pushed it as much internationally as I could have done, mainly down to the fact that I was never entirely happy with the branding originally. I liked it. I think it stood really well in the tattoo industry, but it wasn't ever done with any sort of like branding in mind. And obviously, as time's gone on, as the business has been open, and I've looked more about branding and things like that, I know it's very it's very masculine. It caters to one side of the tattoo community, but there's like a whole other side where it turns people off. The branding turns people off. So I was never 100% happy with it. So I've never really overly pushed it in certain markets until I was happier with that side of things. So that's essentially what I've been waiting on, and that's what we've just launched with. So if you get a chance to take a look at the new branding, I absolutely love it. And it pays homage, even though it's got like it looks more universally friendly.
It's very simplistic. It's nice. It's a nice. It's a nice touch. Like I do branding and logo design as well. So it's a nice, simple.
Yeah, and it pays homage side of things with their with a traditional swallow design there. So it's to show where we came from. So obviously, because we're moving also into mainstream skincare, I don't want people to think, oh, he's had enough of the tattoo community, because I genuinely haven't. The tattoo industry, I absolutely love it. As a non-tattooist as well, to have the industry and the community embrace me and Yeo, and sort of like include me as sort of like one of their own. And I'm not a tattooist. I did body piercings and I did body modifications.
I was half expecting you to come on and be like absolutely tattooless. I'm like, holy shit, this guy's got some massive balls.
Oh man, I've got some fucking 90s tribal shit there. That one there, everyone thinks I'm fucking some sort of like right-wing fucking Combat 18 bull. No, that was just literally the first tattoo that I had done. I walked into a tattoo shop called Steel City Tattoos in Sheffield. For the benefit of the podcast, this is just a Union Jack. And I walked in and I had 20 quid. I was with my older brother and I just went, I'll have that one. And that was literally it. And the only reason it's not covered up yet is because it was the first tattoo I ever had.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then eventually I've had all these, I had all the 90s, I had all this tribal fucking done because I thought, oh, that looks cool. And it's not. And and that's it. And then on the other arm, I've got like a full black work sort of sleeve going on. And this, you can't really see in that video. And hopefully none of your viewers will see this, but yeah, it's like a Nordic sort of sleeve.
Nice. Yeah.
So
wow.
Yeah, I love tattoos and I love the tattoo industry. It's been really, really good to me. I love the camaraderie that you get with it. I really enjoyed having a tattoo shop. It's so full of banter, and it wasn't like going to work every day. It was just like going to hang out with your mates. They do tattoos. You chat shit with the customers. You have a laugh. Yeah, you have a laugh and go home, and it was as good as that, and I really, really enjoyed it.
So I did notice as well that like your like packaging and stuff is like you're going down the route of being more eco-friendly. Are you going to develop that?
I'm going to develop it further.
Yeah, developing it further.
I would love to get rid of all of the single-use plastic that we do. I'd love to get rid of it all. The problem that we've got is that Yeo Guard, which is the film, the tattoo film, it's primarily made of plastic. And by definition, it's going to be single use. So unless there is another product that we can get that will match that wouldn't be either a single use plastic or it would be an eco-friendly plastic, we could never be 100% single use plastic friendly at this point in time. But we will always look to, when a product comes out, if we can move over to that and it is just as good, if not better, then we will do.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm all for, I mean, I'm not vegan, but the product when we launched it and all the products that we've launched since are all vegan.
Yeah. I think we would have known if you were vegan by you telling us straight away when you came on the podcast. By the way, guys,
oh yeah. I'll tell you, cheeky there for a second. Cheeky bastard. He's basically just sat there. He's like, "Yeah, we knew you weren't a vegan, mate. 'Cause you're a fat bastard." So it's like, coming down there. I'm not vegan, but I do like the vegan ethos. I do like the fact of like, you know, being animal friendly. I went vegetarian for a year, a few years back, and now I eat much less meat than I used to. I did start eating meat again because what happened was I put on a stone, or probably nearly 2 stone actually, when I was vegetarian for a year because I just stopped eating meat and I started eating more bread, and that was like the worst thing for me. So I went back to eating meat, and that was a difficult transition because I'd got myself in the mindset of being sort of like being at least vegetarian, well, even though I wasn't fully vegan. And since then I sort of like I eat less meat now anyway, just as sort of like as a natural part of my diet. But I like the whole ethos behind everything being vegan anyway, because, you know, there's so much option available these days that you don't necessarily have to have animal products and everything. And like the ethos behind that for Yeo is that we'll never make anything that's got animal byproducts or animal products in there, and everything will be cruelty free 100%. So that the eco-friendly range is just a natural add-on to that, is that, you know, you need to save the planet. We only got one, and if we can avoid putting out single-use plastics wherever we can, then it's best to do so. Absolutely. And we get asked, actually, since we've launched the eco range, which has only been about a week, we get asked quite a lot that, can we send the packaging back to you for recycling? I would love to say yes, but the carbon footprint against that would go completely against the eco-friendliness of the packaging itself. So we have to say to people, say, look, if you've got so many saved up that you want to send to us over a period of time, by all means, but you would need to save like a year to 2 years worth of packaging just to send back to us. And all we'll do when we get it is we'll recycle it locally. So your best bet is to recycle it at your local recycle center, because they'll do a much better job, and the carbon footprint of that is going to be much, much lower.
Yeah.
So it's like anything. But the plastic that we use, the plastic was all fully recyclable, but most people don't see the plastic as recyclable. They all see, because it's single use, that it just gets thrown in the bin. Whereas generally aluminium gets thrown into a recycle bin.
Yeah.
Amazing. Another question is, what artists do you want using Yayo that are not using it at the minute because they're sponsored by someone else?
Oh, good question. Trying to think of the ones that sort of spring to mind, really.
Are some of them so old school that they're still using Vaseline?
Right. I mean, to be fair, Vaseline does have its place, but it's Vaseline. What a lot of people don't realize that Vaseline's flammable. It's I mean, it's made from petrol, so if you get Vaseline, it's not directly flammable. You can't put like a lighter to it and it'll set on fire. But if it gets in with your clothes, it makes your clothes flammable. And not many people are aware of that. But artist-wise, I'd probably say Amy Edwards is probably high up there on my list. I would like Amy Edwards because she's such an amazing realism artist. She's absolutely incredible. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's probably so many that I can't just sit here and list them all off. But I would, yeah. Amy's probably up there as like one of my favorites. She's absolutely superb at what she does.
Have you reached out to her?
I think we did when she just got sponsored by Butterlux. And I think we did. I think we were about a week too late. But yeah. But I mean, fair play. She's stuck with him, and you know, I do admire loyalty because it's a lot of people, a lot of artists will go with whatever's going to be free to them, and I can't blame them at all, because at the end of the day, they've all got bills to pay. So if they can save money in one direction or another, they'll choose the one that's going to give them the best value for money. And then you'll get some that will stick with the ones because they've stuck with them from day one, whether or not it's all like affects their pocket or not. And that's, you also admire that too. So you can't blame me in either direction. But Amy's stuck with Butterlux. We only approached her that once. We never approached her again because I'm not in the business of poaching people.
Yeah.
You know, there are other brands out there that will go underhand directly to your artist and try, because we get to every single time someone approaches our artists, they generally let me know. So I know it happens like on a week.
Yeah.
It's just not one of those things you shout about. If they want to do that, that's fine. It's just not part of my business ethos. I just won't do that.
Is anybody using the hashtag?
Yeah, that fucker Richard Bulldog, he does it all the time.
Karma's a bitch. Karma's a bitch.
That's it, mate. I'm going to send him a very polite cease and desist. Do you know what? I don't like look at it often enough to be able to tell you, because if someone's going to use it to push their own brand, they're going to use it to push their own brand, and I've got bigger things to worry about than people using the hashtag. Do you know what I mean? It's, at the end of the day, if they're using my hashtag, then all they're going to do is, not only they're going to be notifying people of their products because they're putting it under their hashtag, our hashtag, but they're also going to notify people about our products. So they're advertising us indirectly. So, you know, fill your boot.
Yeah,
what you want to do.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to ask us? Like, obviously, I'm in the industry that I'm in your industry as well. So, or is there anything you want to ask Jack? Because he's had tattoos that need healing.
Yeah, I was pretty nervous. I was pretty nervous coming into this because obviously this isn't my industry. My industry is garments and merchandise, and I have a load of tattoos. But yeah, I didn't really know what to expect from this. So,
to be honest, I mean, it's like, how did you two get together to form this podcast?
Well, I used to do artwork for bands when I lived in Cardiff, and that was when I was first starting off, like learning tattooing and hanging out in physical graffiti. I don't know if you know Chris Jones and Chris Hatton and all those boys.
Yeah.
So I used to hang around with those boys. And then I moved, like I did artwork and moved to West Wales. And the only person that I knew on my Facebook was Jack, and I did artwork for his band. So I went into a nightclub, and Jack was in there, and I was like, "I've got a tattoo machine."
He fucking walked up to me and went, "I know who the fuck you are." I was hammered. I'm like, fuck, what have I done? I had no tattoos at this point, like my legs done, but. And he put his number in my phone, like Matthew Price, like Matthew Diaz, I think you put it in as then. And he said, text me if you want a tattoo.
Because I started off the wrong way. I taught myself, tattooed my legs. I used to work in a steelworks, so I was working 4 on, 4 off, and tattooing my legs. But Jack was like my first coloured sleeve that I was working on, and then I had a black and grey sleeve I was working on. I wasn't charging those boys at all, and I wasn't taking anybody else in. I was just doing those 2 boys, and that was it. I was learning, and they knew the process. They knew exactly what was fucking happening, until we were like all at a point where we're just like, yeah, I'll get the counselling, and we'll like get everything sorted properly. It's not the right way, not the best way, but we're in,
but it's the way.
And it's a rural area, so there was like one tattoo studio around here that could have taught me. There was 2 like half decent ones. The one I was like, I went over, and he was like, "Oh, there's no room here for you," and I was like, "Oh, that's cool, that's fine." And the other one, the week that I sent an email over, he'd gone to prison for like stabbing someone or something. I was like, it's probably best that I just tattooed my legs with my mates. So so then we just became really, really good mates, and just massively hit it off through that sort of sense. And we've kind of grown things at a similar time as well. My studio's only been open since 2013, but like my new studio has been opened in the last like 2 years or 3 years. So like I got a shop now.
You've got 2
No, I had a farm and with my ex-wife, and I had a log cabin that I developed into a studio. So I'd literally walk up the top of my drive, and we split up. So I was like, right, get your shit together, get a shop. The studio was amazing at the top of the drive. Like it was incredible. It was awesome, and it looked exactly the same as what I've got now. Like all the floors the same, all the tiles the same. Like, and it was all like regulated properly, So I found now that like I've taken that step further and gone into a shop, and I'm more respected by more artists, and I don't know, it just feels like I'm a shop owner. It's nicer, it's a kind of, I've got more balls, I've got more structure, and I think the next step maybe is to open another one, but I don't know.
You've also got.
I've got 2 boys.
You've got other tattoo artists.
Yeah, I've got 2 boys working with me. We got a piercer. It's not a massive shop. We've got like maybe coming out of this, I'll probably look into getting an apprentice a bit more, because I've noticed that, like what you said earlier on, I've been thinking it myself as well, as like of working smarter, not harder. And like one of those things is just having more fucking people working for you when you're a shop owner. Like it's stupid, like not to be utilizing that element.
Yeah. The advantage I had about being a non-tattooist owning a tattoo shop, apart from the fact that it's frowned upon in the tattoo community, but the advantage I found I had is that I remember one time a few years ago, I went to the States for a month, and I was able to go there and know that the shop was open every day, everything was run every day, because I had a manager that was running the shop with me. We were partners. I know that all the money was getting taken. I know everything was calculated. Obviously, we run everything digitally, so all the bookings were online. I could see them on a daily basis. If they needed me, they could just drop me a WhatsApp message, and I'm right there. And I had that freedom to be able to go and do that. And I would definitely advocate either partnering with someone who can oversee things, or at least having some systems in place so that that when you're not there, things are just running by the book, but just make sure that you've got everything like clockwork, essentially, so you don't need to concern yourself with it, because you never know what life throws at you. Like, for example, it was 2016. My mum came down in the April with grade 4 glioblastoma, which is brain cancer, and she passed away in the October. And for the most of that year, I weren't even in the studio. I was probably in there for 1 or 2 days, and then I was with my mum for the rest of the time, like with her in hospital and things like that, because you just want to spend as much time with your loved ones as you can, because you know that they're probably not going to be around for very much longer. And thankfully for me, because of the way I'd structured my business, I had the freedom to go and do that. I didn't need to be there. All the laser customers that came in, they got treated. All the tattoo artists were looked after. All the clients were all tattooed and everything. All the money was handled, and I didn't need to worry about it because I had really good people around me. So that was one of the luxuries that I had, to be able to go and do that and spend so much time. You just never know when an emergency situation is going to come up where you're going to need that.
Fallback
those
plan,
people.
the net,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know that you put those things in place in order to help you there.
Yeah, I mean, I did. This is before I even read the E-Myth. I did it completely just off into. Like I say, I've never studied a business course. At this point, I'd never read a business book. I'd literally just done everything by gut feeling, and my gut feeling was, for me at that point in time, was to have good people that I like to work with, that would be partners in the business.
Yeah.
And that I know that if I weren't there, essentially it was their business, and I was almost like the puppet master overseeing everything and just making sure everything ran sort of smoothly. So if I went out of place, they were still, everyone knew their jobs, everyone knew what to do, and everyone acted like a family. We all sort of rallied together, so it worked out. It worked out pretty well. But since then, obviously, I've learned about systems and so on and so forth. So I advocate that for anyone in anyone's business, really.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's good.
So we're probably going to wrap it up now, mate. Thank you very much for coming on.
Cool.
It's been like a massive pleasure to have you, mate. Honestly, like,
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's really good. Like, really good, like informative, like podcast with yourself. Like, I really appreciate your time, and like, obviously, knowing the industry that you're in is the same as mine as well. It's like, this is massive for me. This is really big for me. If you do, you want to like plug your socials a minute? Like, you've got your Instagram and all?
Yeah, I mean, if there's anyone out there that doesn't know who Yayo Familia, then you can log on to either our website, which is www.yayo familia.uk. You can find us on Facebook, Yayo Familia. You can find us on Instagram, Yayo Familia, Snapchat, Yayo Familia, Twitter, Yayo Familia. But also, if you're interested in listening to some bullshit podcast by some host called Kirk Diggler, you can find that shortly. It's not quite live yet.
I was going to say, I couldn't find it anywhere.
No, you can't, mate. It's not fucking there. But I've got 4 episodes recorded. I've got another 2 happening this Friday, and I'm going to launch with 6 straight off the bat. And then I'm going to release 1 weekly. And that's WTF Diggler. I appreciate that WTF is normally what the fuck, but it's actually, for mine, it's who the fuck's Diggler. It is just me, and it's just like, who the fuck's Diggler? And he's
so
like,
are you interviewing anybody? Are you?
Yeah, I've interviewed a friend of mine called Rob Moore. He's self-made multimillionaire, to get his scope on marketing in 2020, especially around the whole COVID-19, which is what we're all in at the minute with the whole lockdown situation.
Yeah.
I've interviewed a couple of other business owners, like a marketing expert. I've interviewed someone about leveraging your lifestyle, so about like outsourcing a lot of your business contacts in order to sort of like help you get more free time. I've interviewed a lady business contact of mine about how to systemize your how to systemize your business. So,
cool. I'll definitely give that a listen. And when is it releasing? On Friday?
No, I've got a couple more to record on Friday. It's probably going to be released in about 2 weeks.
Amazing.
Okay.
But they'll all be on there. It'll be on Spotify and Apple iTunes and so on and so forth.
Are you using Anchor to distribute that? How are you distributing it?
It's going through Podbean.
Okay.
Podbean for it, and then it goes from there. Is that what you use? Do you use Anchor?
No, I use Anchor because it's free. I'm not paying for anything.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Anchor is actually very, very good. It was just I was recommending Podbean because it's got so many other avenues that you can do. Because obviously, if you wanted to put dynamic adverts in there further down the line when your podcast actually gets pretty big, then you can backfill that from your old podcast episode. So
that's the only downfall with Anchor, because you have to be in America in order to earn money through advertisement, which sucks. But I looked at Podbean, I just didn't have the cash. And we only had one episode, so I was like, fuck it, let's find it.
I've only listened, like literally this week, bought a mic and some headphones. I did have these for today. These are, mate, look at these, man. So these are the ones that I did have that I was going to wear.
Oh, no. Mate, you should stick with them. If you're going to use the videos for your vlogs, you should stick with them. For the benefit of the podcast, he's holding up some unicorn ears that are flashing.
I didn't even notice they're flashing.
That is absolutely amazing. Do you know what? You should continue to use that, because if on the vlog, that would look mint. That would look
all right, cool. I'll get rid of these really snazzy Bluetooth ones.
All right, guys. Thanks very much for having me.
Thanks, Kate.
And maybe you guys can come onto my podcast in the future and we can have another old chat.
Let's do it. I'd love to do that.
That'd be amazing.
Mate, thank you very much. You take care, man.
Take it easy.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Once again, a huge thank you for listening to the episode. This one was a really good laugh, but quite difficult for me, as this is more Matt's industry and his field of knowledge is much larger than mine. I guess he would have probably felt the same last week when we were talking to Dylan about screen printing. But regardless, we both help each other and we have such an awesome time doing so. So thank you once again for all of your support. Don't forget that you can check out the show notes on www.progressionoverdestination.co.uk. And if you enjoyed, please leave us a message on any of our socials. Our handle is @progressionoverdestination. Next week, tune in, because we've got a really good friend of mine, Liam Watkins, who's the events manager out at Sin City in Swansea. It's going to be a really good one. We had a lot of laughs, and I really can't wait for all of you to hear it. We'll see you then.